If you dig the twisted, admire the outlandish, and are enamored by the unusual, you're in the right place. True crime, the supernatural, the unexplained, now you're speaking our language. If you agree, join us as we dive into the darker side. You know, because it's more fun over here. Welcome to Total Conundrum.
Warning, some listeners may find the following content disturbing. Listener discretion is advised. Ha 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 ha.
Hey, Conundrum Crew. We're welcoming a local legend in the dark fantasy world, Patrick W. Marsh. He's a Minnesota author known for the Greenland Diaries series, a post-apocalyptic journal filled with monsters, survival, and deep human emotion. His stories explore how the creatures we face on the outside often mirror the ones within. We'll talk about monsters, metaphors, and the wild imagination behind his eerie world. Hey, Patrick, thanks for joining us.
Well, thank you for having me. It's great to be here. I'm really looking forward to it. Yeah.
We are so excited to have you. We met Patrick at Crypticon in September this year. It was so
Yep.
fun.
It was fun.
Did you
I
enjoy
did.
having the booth and stuff?
I love doing it. I've been doing Crypticon for I don't know, maybe 10 years now, with a few gaps in between. But I've loved doing Crypticon. I've sold books there for many years. And yeah, it's always a good time. And I've had my table in some weird spots too, like right in front of a stairwell, in front of a bathroom, which actually I got a lot of traffic because of that. I sold quite a few books that year. So it all worked out. But yeah, I've always enjoyed my time at Crypticon. So it was great meeting you guys there.
Yeah, they had you kind of hidden in the back area in that one hallway.
Right, yeah.
Year. And that
Yeah,
hallway.
we were
Oh, go ahead.
it was very narrow. It was a very narrow hallway. Got very close and personal with people going through there. Yeah.
And that hallway had all sorts of interesting cannabis smells going on too.
It did. It did indeed. Yes. Yeah. There was a lot of life in that hallway. There was a lot
Certainly
happening.
was.
Yeah. It felt kind of like a medieval marketplace, like from a video game where you have to go on a side quest to find an item or something. Yeah.
It totally had that feel. Well, we also, while we were there, I'm going to grab them quick.
Sure.
We picked up a few of Patrick's books while we were there, and he signed them for us. But here is the first one.
Yeah, Beware the Eels.
Yeah.
Oh, sorry. Beware the Eels, dark fantasy, Curse Island, bad guy. Lots of terrible things happen. But yeah.
We have not had a chance to read them yet. It's only been a few weeks since Crypticon, but I'm very excited. And then we have his Greenland Diaries,
Correct.
days 1 to 100.
Yes.
And then we have Monsters Everywhere.
Right. And again, I always preface my horror writing is that I'm a somewhat decent guy. I'm like a normal dude. I drive a minivan. I've got a center console. And I keep extra plastic bags in there for whatever people might need. So yeah, stuff like that. But go ahead.
That ain't weird.
And then we got the second edition of the Greenland Diaries, which I'm excited to get the rest of them as well. So
isn't there like 5 of them?
Yeah, there's 6 total in the main narrative, plus a couple of short story collections. People love that series, so I've just gone all out. I've just mailed it in, just totally just writing what people like. No matter what happens, people love the end of the world. So yeah.
Yeah.
The whole apocalyptic. I think The Walking Dead really brought that out in a lot of people too.
Oh yes, yeah, definitely.
We're going to do a little icebreaker round just to kind of warm up here. And these are just silly questions. And if you don't have an answer for them, that's fine. We can move on to the next one, but just some fun little questions to kind of get to know you a little bit. So if one of your monsters suddenly moved in with you, what's the first house rule that you would set for the monster?
Ooh, that's a good question. Besides the obvious, don't murder me. But like for the unnamed from the Greenland Diaries, they're like this big shrouded creature with all spiky and bony. I would ask them to put in a really a large damage deposit down or help me pay the damage deposit. Because as they'd go from doorway to doorway to the bathroom or wherever they're going, their body would be so huge it would scrape up against the walls. Like, my landlord might be upset. Just extra damage deposit from the monster.
I
And
love
do
it.
your own dishes, damn it.
Yes.
Yeah. So I think that'd be my first rule besides the obvious let me live kind of thing. Yeah.
Yeah, that's an important one. Would you rather face a horde of your monsters or explain your browser history search to the FBI?
Well, that's a great question. I think I'd be fine with the browser search. Yeah. I think I'd be all right with that. Yeah. It'd be weird. I'd feel very exposed as a human, I suppose, in general, but I think I'd be okay with that versus facing off against the monsters.
Yeah.
Yeah. Yeah.
We always
It'd be
joke that
awkward, but tricky. Yeah.
we always joke that we're sure we're on some kind of list with doing the true crime and paranormal.
Oh yeah, for sure. Yeah. No, my I do search a lot of things, and I do have a quick little story about that actually.
Yeah.
I wrote a podcast I write or used to write, but we're on hiatus called Hidden Oaks. There was a scene I wrote in it where a guy burns his house down. And in the scene, I wrote that he used just one can of gas to burn the house down. And my co-creators and the producer was like, actually, Patrick, I don't know if you've ever burned anything down before, but you need more than one can of gasoline. And I was like, oh, I did not know that. That's new. That's new to me. I had no clue. So it was kind of funny. Like I don't, you do research weird things when you write dark stories.
For sure. Right. Then
What's
what
that?
is that?
It ain't me. I don't think.
Hang on one second.
Sure.
Oh, is it Dylan calling you?
Hello?
Hey, Julie.
Hey, Julie, we're in the middle of recording a podcast interview. Can I call you back? It might have been. I haven't called recently. I'm sorry.
Dude, that was like 12 years ago.
Yeah, I'll give you a call back. Bye. I just wanted to make sure it wasn't anything important because I haven't heard from her in a long time. Okay, phone
How'd she
silent.
call you?
What's that?
How'd she call you?
Facebook Messenger? That's
Weird.
why I thought it was weird. It's his aunt's best friend, so thought it was strange
Okay.
that she was calling. I'm like, what's going on? Okay. So the next question, what's your go-to comfort snack while you're writing creepy stuff?
Go-to comfort snack. Probably pizza rolls. Pepperoni pizza rolls specifically. I'm not a huge fan of the sausage pizza rolls, but just pepperoni pizza rolls. Yeah. That's
That'd be
always a
mine,
go-to
too.
for me.
Yeah, Jeremy's favorite
Yeah.
is pepperoni pizza.
Pizza rolls and Reese's snacks.
Yes,
Oh,
Reese's peanut butter
Yeah,
cup.
of course. Yeah. Yep. Definitely.
All right. What horror movie monster would you absolutely befriend instead of fight?
Oh, that's a good question. Horror movie monster would I befriend instead of fight? You know, if I could get along with the xenomorph from Alien or like the alien itself from Alien, if I could somehow get along with that thing, it's such a physically imposing creature. I mean, it could help you with so many things around the house. It could, dust the roofs. I mean, not dust the ceilings off for you, clean the ceiling fan, help you move things, physically strong. And then I wouldn't talk much, which would be nice as well. It'd be just a very
silent
one-sided.
friend.
Yeah, silent friend. Dependable, but silent. Yeah.
Yes, I
But
love that.
yeah,
All
I
right.
think that'd be
So
good.
zombies are invading Minnesota. What's
Sure.
your survival plan?
Ooh, that's tough. I think for me, I would probably stay close to home. And that's kind of a sentiment that I echo in the Greenland Diaries with my main character is he never leaves his house. He finds a place to hide in his house and he stays someplace familiar. And I think trying to get someplace with a lot of people, like kind of have that refugee experience that the zombie stories kind of inspire, would be more dangerous than simply staying put in an area that's familiar to you. So I'd probably hide out at home, maybe in a crawl space, a basement, a hollowed out wall, whatever spot you can go to.
It's one thing I've never understood in like the Walking Dead.
Mhm.
Why are they living out in the middle of the woods? And I mean, there's all of these houses that are abandoned. And it seems like, I mean, their smartest thing was going to that prison where it was all kind of,
Yeah.
a built-in fortress. Why would you expose yourself out in the wild when there's
You
all
need
these
resources, though.
Well, you can go places to get resources, but why would you stay out in the middle of the woods instead of like in an enclosed home?
I don't know.
Yeah,
Good
it's
question.
difficult. Yeah, it's difficult to say. Prison. I remember the prison season, and I did wonder that. I mean, they can control all the entrance and exits basically, and that would be really
Uh-huh.
helpful. But yeah, I've always wondered why people tend to leave the area versus stay someplace they know is familiar. They know where to hide. Yeah, it would just be difficult to to not only experience this trauma that's happening on a global scale, but also to like leave what you're familiar with, leave where you have all your resources.
Right.
It doesn't always logically make sense for the most part, yeah.
It
Yeah.
adds for makes for good TV, but
It
Oh,
does, yeah, it makes
yeah.
it for a
all right, next one. If your writing style had a soundtrack, what would the first track be?
ooh, that's a good question too. I'm gonna go let's see, that's a good question. I listen to such obscure music that I'm trying to
Mhm.
find like a more modern day relevant example to compare it to. Uh, I think I write with, like, a lot of emotion, because I not only do I write the books and stuff like that, but I also write poetry. So it could be any form of, electronic music, really. I don't even need to name like, a particular track. Could be just that style where things that are more emotional versus, like I'm not as lyrical. I tend to go for more emotional broad strokes with characters and tone. And yeah, it'd probably be more like electronic music overall, or a soundtrack of sorts. Yeah,
So like painting a picture with like different sounds and music versus lyrical.
yeah, yep,
I like
yep,
that.
exactly. Yeah,
I guess the first thing that popped into my head was sometimes I feel like somebody's watching me.
yeah, yeah, for sure. Um, yeah, it's interesting, and like writing poetry and stuff. You do rely on a little bit more music and lyrical, like a lyrical sense for that and stuff. But I write
Right.
horror poetry, so I write poetry that has monsters in it. And one poem I recently published that was about a harpy living in the woods. And in the woods, there's a whirlpool, and the whirlpool is also a monster. And the
Oh,
harpy
cool.
lures people in, and the whirlpool eats the people, and they'll kind of feed off of each other. And it's all about how even scary things have relationships. So it's kind of like that's kind of like if you want to apply music to that, it is more instrumental versus lyrical, like how I'm
Right.
using things. Yeah.
I love that. That is a really cool way to think about it.
Well, thank you.
Yeah. Which monster from your books would totally ghost you if you texted them?
That's a good one. So in my book, Beware the Ills, the main character, it's all written from the main character's point of view. And he's this really dark, violent, standoffish guy. It's his job to protect this island. He's killed lots of people. I can't picture him being very good at texting me back for anything. Like even if it was like he was gonna invite me over for the football game and I wanted to know the time I was going over there, he probably wouldn't text me back for that. Yeah. Yeah. Like I think a lot of my monsters because so much of them metaphorically are based on a lack of communication or trauma that's been created from a lack of communication. I think that all of them would be really bad at texting or communicating in general.
Communicators. I
Yes,
like that.
definitely.
All right, so here's a fun one.
If they don't have opposable thumbs.
That too.
Right,
That
That's
would
right.
make it
Yeah,
true.
rough. Yeah.
yeah,
I
that
suppose they
too.
have voice text, though.
Yeah,
That's
they do have
true.
voice text, but some of my creatures don't even talk. Like that's just
Oh,
yeah,
wow.
it'd be difficult. Communication would be one sided. Yeah,
It's a
All
lot of
right.
grunting.
Yeah, that's a series of clicks and beeps.
yeah, yep,
Like
yeah,
whoopers.
Like the
yeah.
Yoopers. Yep. All right, last one, kind of a fun one. Describe Minnesota's weather as if it were a horror villain.
Horror villain. Ooh, that's a good one. Let's see. I just when I think about it as a horror villain or like I guess even a monster, but like a villain, I think of like Hannibal Lecter from maybe Silence of the Lambs. He's a very cold and calculating kind of guy, but there are moments of warmth and communication and humanity in him. So we get like warm, we'll get he's also wildly unpredictable because he feasts on human flesh, but like he's all over the place. And I kind of feel that with our weather. So maybe Hannibal Lecter's a villain. As a monster, that's also tricky because I would go with a monster that favors unpredictability right now because the weather
Okay.
is so, one week it's 90, one week it's 60, or a low of 40.
Like Mother
Yeah.
So it could be
Nature.
anything. Maybe the thing, the creature from the thing, adaptable, changes shape like each and every day can,
Uh,
maybe that. I don't know, but that's a good question.
Yeah, our weather is definitely the craziest. I
Yeah.
remember a few years back, was it March? We had tornadoes come through Zimmerman.
Yeah.
And
Yep.
I'm like,
That's right.
"Really?" And then the next year we'll have no snow, and the year after that will be pounded, and you can have
Hmm.
a 60-degree swing in temperature. It's like, somebody needs to take some Midol, Mother Nature.
Yeah. Seriously, it is. It is like that. Yeah. And it just seems like when it's about to become consistent, there's another variation to it. So
Mm.
it is wildly, almost consciously inconsistent about how it operates. Yeah.
I remember I was on a vacation girls trip in Myrtle Beach,
Sure.
and somebody asked me where I was from, and I said Minnesota, and they're like, "You have to be a psychopath to live there."
A
I
little bit.
guess, yeah,
Yeah.
yeah, you're kind of right.
Yeah.
I
Yeah.
mean, you live in a place where the air hurts your face. I'm like, yeah, that's very true.
Yeah. Yeah. At the very least, we're all kind of masochistic. We're all okay with a certain level of suffering in our
Yes,
life.
but it's beautiful.
Yeah,
It is
I'm not okay
beautiful.
with it. I'm just forced to be here.
You're
Oh,
fine.
okay. All right. So you're a Minnesotan by proxy. Yeah. 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 I get that.
Yeah, he wants to move, and I've always said that I would move as well, but now I have a granddaughter, or we
Oh,
have a
that.
granddaughter,
Yeah.
so now I'm kinda like,
I
"Can I
still
really
want to
move
move.
in?"
Yeah. Yeah.
That would be really hard.
I know my parents would have liked maybe to spend they go to Florida for a month, but since I've had my sons, I have twin boys and they're 10, they don't go very long, go any place very long. They gotta be near their grandkids. So yeah,
Yeah,
it is tricky.
it is tricky. Well, let's get to know a little bit more about you and how
Sure.
you came into writing. What
Yeah.
originally drew you into dark fiction and horror, and was it something you read, watched, or lived through that inspired you?
Sure. Well, I got into these genres. I've always been interested in monsters, but I must confess that I'm not a huge horror film guy. I'm not a huge horror as a genre guy, but I always was curious watching whether it was Alien that I mentioned earlier growing up or X-Files, or X-Files actually did a better job with it. I was always curious about what made the monster, like how the monster got there, and whether it was, Godzilla because of nuclear radiation, or if it was like the alien. They're still trying to explain that in that universe. um whether whatever I always wanted to know more about the monster, and came upon writing in high school, published some work with the literary magazine at my high school, and then I just kind of got into writing. But I've had kind of a varied background when it comes to writing. Like, I've studied it in colleges, I've done self-publishing, I've done traditional publishing, I've done screenwriting, I've done podcasts. I've kind of jumped around. Kind of what led me here is that I love to use monsters to express either my own personal trauma that I've been through, the trauma of others that I've witnessed, use them as like a sociological mirror in society. Like, Frankenstein's monster is a great example of that, that Mary Shelley created. I also just think they're a great plot device in storytelling. I just love a good monster. Yeah, and I mentioned the X-Files earlier. I watched that when I was way too young, and that kind of taught me that I could communicate through horror, because X-Files is horror, and each
Right.
episode is like a horror story. And that was really formative for me. But I also did enjoy in the X-Files is they did try to explain what the monsters were, where they came from. There was a couple creatures on the X-Files who they really just devoted the whole episode to, and that really inspired me that I could explore that perspective. And then there was, just to finish up on this question, there was a book I read called Grendel by John Gardner. It's a really famous book. It's written from the point. I don't know if you're familiar with the story Beowulf, but Grendel is the monster from Beowulf. And in
Okay.
the book Grendel by John Gardner, he writes the story from Grendel's point of view. So he kind of flip flops. And this is before point of view had become really popular in modern storytelling like it is now. This
Mhm.
was back in the 60s and 70s. And I highly suggest the book Grendel by John Gardner, because it's a different point of view, and it kind of puts you in the role of the monster versus the hero in Beowulf. And it was really good. And I read that in high school. And once I could see that I could tell stories in writing like that, that was kind of my big inspiration.
I love that different point of view because you never get
Hmm.
the monster or the other side of it,
Right,
whether,
right.
like in horror, the vampires or the werewolves or whatever, you never get any of what their thought process is. So I love that. I'm
Right.
definitely gonna have to check that book out. I've never read that
Yeah.
one.
It's good. It's a nice short read. It's got some weird 60s, 70s psychedelic prose, like the author may have been out in the woods doing various substances kind of vibe to it, but overall, it's a good read.
I love that. So in your life, have you ever had any type of like paranormal experience or cryptid experience?
I at one point I had one experience, I think, not nothing cryptid related, but maybe like a ghost or something, where I was living in Robbinsdale, which is where the Greenland Diaries is based, and I was sleeping one night and I had a dream about a woman standing at the end of the door, end of the bed, and my,
Mhm.
my bed was against the wall and the door was on the opposite side. And there was a woman standing at the foot of the bed, and she was like in an old prairie dress, like frontier, like kind of frontier garment kind of thing, where like
Mhm.
she looked like she was out, hauling water on a farm someplace in the 1600s or something, 1700s. And she was like standing at the foot of my bed, and she had some sort of weird face, like her face wasn't fully completed, and she had like yellow eyes and her skin was kind of hanging. It was very unsettling, but I thought I was just dreaming or whatever. And I remembered, it was one of those classic physical sensations where you can't even move, you can't even breathe, you're just kind
Like
of stuck in that moment. Yeah.
sleep paralysis type?
Yeah, that kind of thing. But I remember having this dream or this waking dream or whatever, and seeing this figure, and I woke up from whatever was happening, and she was gone, but the door clicked shut, like the
Oh,
door. Yeah, so that kind of that got me.
yeah.
And at the time, my girlfriend at the time was Hmong, and in the Hmong culture, they're very superstitious, or like her family was at least was very superstitious about ghosts and had a
Mhm.
lot of belief in that there were ghosts and spirits and supernatural entities. So they very much believed me, which was nice.
Right,
When I told them about it, they were very supportive of the fact that I was terrified by a ghost.
right. Well, at first, when you were talking about, her appearance and stuff like that, I was thinking something back from the times of like the plague, and maybe she had something that had happened in that aspect. But
Yeah.
then in some aspects of it, it kind of it does almost sound like the sleep hag or the hat man. Like people talk about having the sleep hag or the hat man come during sleep paralysis
Mhm.
and stuff. So it could be one of those that's like, which way could it go?
Sure.
But yeah, having the whole door click after as
Yeah.
validation, nah, hell no. I don't want that.
Yeah. No, no, and it was kind of one of those sounds you hear where, because it was in my grandma's old house. My dad, bought it and was renting it to me at the time, and it had those old kind of almost like coppery doorknobs that were very, like, loud if you turned them.
Right.
And I just remember, like, always if after you got done shutting the door and you turn the knob, it would just click into place, and I remember hearing it click. Like, the click was very like, I didn't wanna hear it. My
Right.
brain and body were like, "You didn't wanna hear that," but I definitely heard it.
It just gives you the validation that you can't say, maybe it was just a dream, but what the hell
Right,
shut the
right,
door?
right, yeah, and that was kind of like the only experience that I can at least remember or kind of put into I can really share that really, stuck with me or that had multiple elements happen to it, yeah,
That's
Yeah,
crazy.
that would be creepy.
Yes, for sure.
yeah,
So, in my research, you've mentioned using monsters as metaphors for mental health.
yeah.
When did that connection first start to click for you as a writer?
Well, it's interesting that my relationship with my own mental health and watching other people with various forms of anxiety, depression, personality disorders, whatever you want to call it, that I had been using monsters before I even was aware of it to talk about my own struggles with anxiety and depression and whatnot. I had always been using them as metaphors, as kind of like a easier way to bring it up, to talk about that, like there's something either wrong with me currently, or I'm not feeling the best right now, or there's something wrong with a certain individual in my life. They were already serving as metaphors before I started to make that connection that I was doing that, if that makes sense. It's like
Mhm.
they appeared before I had any understanding of them. Like For example, in my book series, the Greenland Diaries, there's the monsters, the unnamed, which are like these shrouded, faceless creatures. They got these giant claws. You can see their ribs. They kind of phase in and out of reality. I very much going back and working on that series and revising it and just constantly having it on my mind, based those monsters on, this is going to sound very generic, but on my father. My
Okay.
father I have a very sweet father. He's a very good man, but he was abandoned when he was 7 by his father, and he grew up without that relationship, and that always made it difficult for him to communicate more as a father to me. And
Right.
in the Greenland Diaries, the unnamed, they kill people, but they actually, and I don't want to give too many spoilers to people, but they actually resurrect people. They kill people and they sew them back together,
Oh,
because the people they can sew back together that come into this world, I call them the reanimated in the books. They can communicate, and the unnamed cannot communicate with humans, even though they kind of want to. So the only way they can communicate with humans is by reanimating them. So that broad metaphor is my own relationship with my father, where he can't necessarily communicate with me, but he kind of hopes that I can communicate with him, kind of idea.
that's
So yeah,
very
that's just,
cool.
well, thank you. Yeah, that's just one example of how I use monsters as a metaphor in my storytelling. The unnamed are a good example of that.
It's always interesting to hear the perspective because when someone is reading or listening to music or whatever, they kind of put their own spin
Hmm.
on what they think is trying to
Yeah.
be portrayed and stuff. But I always find it super intriguing to actually hear from the person who composes or writes or what, has the whole thought process that goes into it. I love hearing how it all comes together. So that is really, really, really interesting. I love that.
Thank you. Yeah, I
Yeah.
appreciate that. Thank you. Yeah. I've always been willing to talk about kind of where the monsters come from and whatnot for my stories, but it varies really. And like in my book, Beware the Ills that you showed earlier, it's all
Uh-huh.
written from the point of view of this guy on this cursed island, and it's his job to kill. He's like protects the island. He kills whoever comes on the shore, stuff like that. The metaphor for him is you can't outrun a sense of morality. It catches up with you. And for me, I was just when I published that book and wrote that book and stuff, I was simply trying to like right my ship personally. Like I was in a bad space. I was very self-destructive. I wasn't a good person to be around. But eventually, you kind of come around, or you kind of have to kind of rebuild yourself, and that's what that book was about as well. It plays on multiple layers where I use monsters or characters as metaphors for trauma and personal difficulty.
Well, and it's a good way to get through and try to have some personal healing too, because
Yeah,
it's a form of journaling, getting emotions and everything out, but putting them into a different, we'll say, character to try to help deal too. And if I remember correctly from Crypticon, the Beware the Ills, that was what you said was your favorite book. It's not the most
yeah.
popular, but it's your
Not my
favorite.
most popular, no.
So that's
Yeah,
one of the reasons why we bought it because we really
yeah.
wanna read it.
Yeah, Beware the Ills, it's dark fantasy, and like I said, it's about this guy on an island, and it's all written from his point of view. And I wrote the prose in it, the point of view, so stream of consciousness, so all over the place, where the audience may get annoyed by the way he talks, the way he thinks about things. He repeats himself a lot. He ruminates on things a lot. He constantly says the same things over and over again. Much of what we do in our own daily life as human
Right.
beings, only he's in very extraordinary circumstances on this island. Yeah, Beware the Ills is kind of a love letter to being able to change, to be able to be a better person. And that's what I wanted to write with the book. But the prose and the style of it, and sometimes it makes the audience a little bit more squeamish in terms of simply digesting the narrative. Where with the Greenland
Right.
Diaries, my very popular work, it's written in found journal format, so people can literally pick it up, and it's meant for anyone to read, because the guy writing it within the story wanted to leave a record of what happened. So
I
Very
love
cool.
that. And that kinda leads into my next
Mm.
question.
perfect.
The Greenland Diaries is written in such a unique format, the journal style apocalypse. What made
Yeah.
you choose that voice for the story?
Well, at the time, I was writing it in the form of a blog on Blogspot back in 2011. This was like, early blogs. So there weren't It wasn't like blogs now and where people really create a platform for themselves on them. And I was a very amateurish writer at the time, and I wanted to practice writing in past tense. So in the journal entry format, where yesterday I did this, like I'm always writing in the past in a journal because I'm talking about the previous day.
Right.
So I just used that format, and then I just basically created a monster to go in it called the Unnamed, and I threw everything I could into these monsters. Like, I mean, the monsters in the Greenland Diaries are so unique and so just very cool creatures, and they evolve throughout the whole book series. Like, if you read the whole book series, they're not the same in the first book that they are in the last book. So there's so much variation to their characters, and I threw everything I could, and I had this small blog. Barely anyone read it. Only my friends and family would read it, but they wouldn't really read it. They just click on it because they're like, "Hey, I clicked on it. You got to click." And I'm like, "Thanks. Did you read it? Did you read the story?" That was kind of what I did, and eventually I started to get a following on there. I got like after like 30,000, 40,000 people read the blog, I thought, okay, I'll self-publish this, and I've been releasing books with it ever since. But yeah, I chose that format because I was limited in my ability as a writer at the time. Like I could not write anything better than that journal entry at the time, and things have changed since then, thankfully, in my skill level. But it was just an easy format for me to do, and I didn't feel like I didn't have to be super perfect in it either. If I
Right.
made mistakes in the journal, it was more authentic to the experience of the character versus
Right.
seeming maybe amateurish for people reading it.
I love that. And to think that it all started with just a blog, doing a blog entry,
Yeah,
and
yeah.
that
Just a
is
writing exercise, really. Yeah.
right. And that ended up being one of your most popular
Mhm. Yeah.
series. And it
Yeah.
gives it an open end too, where
Mhm.
you can keep going with it and you can kind of keep changing the narrative a little bit and giving it room to grow.
Yeah, yeah, and I've written other stories and books kind of in the same universe to kind of give different points of view and to enhance the main arc of the narrative, but I've never, I've always kept the main character in the Greenland Diaries itself within the journal entries, and yeah, it's been a good experience. I never thought I would be 6 books into the series at this point, so
That's amazing.
thank you.
So, fans love the psychological depth in your books. Do you think readers relate more to the monsters or the humans trying to survive them?
That's a great question. I think it's both. I think they relate to the main character. His name's Richard, and he's the narrator of the story. He writes the journal entries. I think they relate to him because he's just a normal guy. He goes through many extraordinary things within the story, but he's just a normal dude who was working as a bank teller one evening when this drum started playing and these monsters appeared. And I've often told people at conventions or events who are buying my books, I'm like, this guy is not some sort of, ex special ops bank teller, like in his spare time. He's
Right.
not like I moonlight as a bank teller, but I'm really a, mercenary during the, it's not like anything like that. He has no
Right.
skills. In fact, for the majority of the first book, he has a shotgun and he doesn't know the gauge of the shotgun. He just finds it. Like there's many things that are just found knowledge for him. There's guns that he doesn't know how to use. There's all sorts of things. So I think the audience can relate to having a normal person being in the situation. But he sees so many extraordinary things and he's a part of so many different things within the narrative. I think he becomes a little bit less relatable as the story gets on and the monsters become more relatable because the monsters start off as just scary, but the more you learn about them, the more you understand that there's some sort of individuality there. It's not just some hive of monsters tormenting humanity. There's something else happening. And it's I think for the audience it kind of flip-flops depending upon why you're reading the book too.
Very cool.
It's very cool. What advice would you give creatives who want to use art to process trauma excuse me, what advice would you give to creatives who want to use art to process trauma or anxiety?
That's a great question. And my advice would be that it's a double-edged knife. You can use it effectively to communicate your own personal trauma or trauma you've witnessed or trauma of society or trauma that you think is occurring or whatnot. You can do all that, but it does take a toll. Like you have to be able to communicate it effectively to make sure it's digestible for your audience, but also so you're not overly exposing what you've been through as a person. I think it's a great way to I think it's very cathartic, and I think it's a great way to communicate trauma and stress and whether it's depression, anxiety, a personality disorder, any of that kind of stuff. But I do think it's difficult. It's hard. And there are more dangers to it than you might realize using it as a catalyst for your stories. But I also think it is worthwhile at the same time. So it's like, I would say experiment, but be wary, be gentle with yourself. Don't be too hard on yourself about it. Don't overexpose yourself. Don't confess, all the bad things that have happened to you through a narrative.
Right.
Also, don't it metaphorically, a monster or fiction or horror in general is a good engine to deal with topics that are hard to talk about.
I love that. That is great advice. And how do you mentally handle, because will dive into some dark, heavy
Yeah.
spaces. How do you handle just like disconnecting from that? Like you're writing away and you have to, okay, the twins need something. How do you
Right,
just
right.
click out of that?
Yeah, it's a skill that's evolved over time. I think I tend to my stories I write, my poetry, all of the very dark things that I create, I tend to give myself a lot of distance with in my personal life. Like I talked about horror earlier. I don't watch a lot of horror. I don't read a lot of horror. Like I don't digest a lot of horror as my choice of media. I don't mind it. And there's certain things I love. Like I mentioned Alien earlier, the X-Files, but I do tend to keep things a little bit lighter in the media that I digest. Whether it's comedy, reality TV is a huge escape for me. I love a good reality show.
Me too.
Yeah, like I love those. Occasionally I will get into horror more. Recently I watched all the what is it? Black Mass, is it Black Mass, or all the on the Mike Flanagan shows on Netflix. I watched all of those this last year. So occasionally I'll have streaks where I get really into horror, but normally I try to separate a little bit of what I write and what I experience as a medium in terms of media. So yeah, that's one thing I do. Small doses. I read a lot in small doses, different multiple projects at once. Every week I'm working on a new book, a new poem, a new short story, a new piece of flash fiction. So there's a lot of variety. I don't get kind of stuck in one dark territory, so to speak.
So what's your favorite reality TV show right now?
Um, so I really like. I don't know if this one's as mainstream, but I really like Bury Sea Gold.
I haven't seen
It's
that one.
it's made by the same people that do Deadliest Catch
Okay.
and Burying Sea Gold. It's about a bunch of people in Nome, Alaska, and they go underneath the water because there's a bunch of gold in the Bering Sea, and they harvest gold out of the soil. And newsflash, it doesn't go well. Like it's hard to harvest gold out of
What?
frozen ocean, earth, or frozen sea. And so they're the most interesting people that do it, and everything breaks all the time. They'll be on a boat and they'll be like, "Oh my god, the propeller went out. Oh god, this went out." And they're always surprised. They're always like, "Oh no, it broke." And I'm like, "You guys are ripping gold out of like a frozen sea. Like, of course things are gonna break." But it just reminds me of my family and stuff watching it too. Like because my family's very blue collar, very like fix things themselves kind of thing, and watching it just reminds me of them and how things would break and how they'd react. It's almost nostalgic for me to watch. Yeah.
What was that gold show that you were watching for a while there?
Gold Rush.
Gold
Yeah,
Rush?
Gold Rush. I'm a little familiar with that one, but not quite as much. But yeah.
Yeah, that one was tune into.
Interesting, but yeah, I mean, all those shows are kind of all drama, you know?
Yes.
Oh
It's
yeah.
just,
Yeah, there's
People
lots of
something has
drama.
to
Yeah.
happen. Something has to go bad.
Yes.
Yeah, if it was successful, then
It
Yeah.
wouldn't be entertaining.
It
no,
would
it
not
would
be
not.
entertaining. Yeah. What's your favorite
So
reality show?
I like more of
Love
I do a little bit
Island.
more of the Bravo stuff
Oh
just
yeah.
because
Okay. All right.
it's mindless. And
Oh yeah.
I really like they had the new one that just came out,
Oh,
McBee
Trader.
Dynasty,
Oh,
Okay. Yeah.
and it's
Yeah.
about a farming family in, was it Missouri, I think? Kansas or Missouri, one of the 2. So that one was kind of fun, but yeah,
Yeah.
I like more of Jeremy just rolls his eyes at me because the TV's always
not on
screaming.
all of them, but like Love Island and
Oh,
The
Love Island, that's like I said, it's just one of those I need something that's just mindless at
Oh,
times
yeah.
that
Yeah,
just to
me
not
too.
have to think and just
Yeah.
to, my life could be worse.
Right, right. Yeah, no, it's true. It's true. It does kind of even things out for you. I'm like, you're just like, oh, things aren't so bad. Yeah.
Yeah, definitely. But I do like the survival series and stuff too, like
Oh, yeah,
Naked and
those are fun.
Afraid and
Yes,
Survivor.
yeah, I like those. And
those
And
are
it was
fun.
Trader.
Yeah,
it was so funny. I actually turned on Survivor the other day. Haven't watched it in probably a couple of years.
yeah.
And I've watched so much of Naked and Afraid. I was like, wow, it looks really weird when people have their clothes on.
Right, right. Yeah.
I'm like, wait, they're not naked?
Yeah, yeah, that's weird. Yeah, I feel like Survivor's gotten more tame over the years, and Naked
Yeah.
and
Yeah.
Afraid is still like the original Survivor, where people are
Yeah.
just like ditched in the wild. Yeah,
Right. I'm like, "What? You get food given to you?" I had forgotten, and it's like like I said, I've watched Naked and Afraid for so long now that it's like Survivor just seems like a cakewalk.
yeah, it's true. It is. It is. It's definitely more of a cakewalk. Yeah.
Well, and what's her name? Carolyn. I can't think of her last name.
Carol Ann or whatever.
Yeah, she was on Survivor and she was also on Traders, but she's a Minnesota native.
Oh yeah, yeah.
Yeah, and I loved her on Traders. I hadn't seen her season on Survivor yet, but
Mm,
she's got that total quirky personality, and have you
yeah.
ever watched Traders?
I have. Yep. Yep. Yeah, my
That's one of
fiance
my
is really
favorites
into it.
too.
Yeah, so
Yeah.
it's been on. I've seen it. Yeah, I've watched it and I it's kind of fun because you do get to see the cross reality people come in
Yes,
who are
Um,
basically making a living as reality stars, which is great
right.
for them. But yeah, it's just kind of funny because you're like, well, on the last show I saw them on, they were kind of as a human, they were just kind of off. And then you see them on Traders and you're like, yep, they're still like that. Yeah. Like they're
are we
still a little
talking about Boston Rob here?
Oh,
yeah, oh
Boston
my god.
Rob,
Boston Rob, yeah.
legend.
Yeah.
He's
Yeah.
been on a
Gosh.
lot of reality
I
TV.
always root for him when I see him on the show.
Yes, me too. I did not like him on the first season of Survivor, but I liked him on everything else.
Yeah.
Well,
Yeah,
he's kind of on the evil side, but yet you just can't stop watching him because he's funny.
Yeah,
yeah,
he
yeah,
was
he's got a sense of humor about his villainy. Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, he was just on what's that? The Money Show. That's a game show that they turned into a competition show. Oh my gosh.
Is that with all the cases or?
Yeah,
Uh,
the
Deal or No Deal Island?
Yeah.
yes, yes. Yeah,
Yep,
he was
yeah.
just on that too. But yes, I love me some reality TV. It's
Oh,
just a
yeah.
great escape.
It is. And from a storytelling perspective, like writing as much as I do and working with structure and style and tone and within prose, it's nice to watch something where I'm not maybe thinking about that, like where I'm thinking about, oh, this character seems, like this, or the story plot, this beat in the story doesn't seem quite there. Or like I'm not turning on a part of my brain to watch reality TV. Like I'm just kind of enjoying the mess that it is versus other media that I'll watch where I might do that more so.
Well, then you
Right.
definitely need to watch those housewives because they are loony.
Yeah, I have seen a few of those actually. Yeah, yeah, I have watched a few of those. Huh. And yeah, that
Yeah,
they're you watch that, then you're like, well, the truth is stranger than fiction. Like
Yeah.
that's where you're like, holy cow, people are so strange. Yeah.
you
I
can't
can't ever
write
write a
that shit.
monster. Yeah, right, exactly. You can't write that. Yeah.
Well, with us
So
diving so much into the true crime and paranormal, not so much paranormal because paranormal is kind of our break from the true
mhm.
crime. And that's why we did both with our podcast, but you get into some really dark, dark stuff. And it's like I used to watch a lot of like Dateline and stuff like that
Yeah.
just for fun. But now it's like I only watch that stuff when I'm like looking for new content or, doing
Yeah.
research because you can't be down that rabbit hole all the time.
No, no, it's very difficult. Yeah. It's very difficult. I agree. I
Jeremy,
yeah.
I couldn't put him through it any more than I already do.
Yeah. That's funny.
Well,
Yeah, I like the lighter stories.
yes, you like the more
Yeah.
paranormal, the fun stuff. You
Yeah.
can't really
Yeah.
banter say too much when it comes to true crime, but it's important stories to tell because these
Yeah.
people have gone through had
Right.
tragic things happen, and so they're important to get out there, but it's very dark and not
Yeah.
fun.
Yeah. It takes a little sacrifice watching stuff like that and creating content for it and stuff. Yeah, absolutely.
Right. Definitely. So you've been active in the Minnesota's horror and fantasy scene from Crypticon to local readings.
Yeah.
What's the community like here for the dark genre writers?
It's great. It's great. I've always had supportive readers and followers of my work. I've never really had any negative experiences ever with any of it. I think, Minnesota's got a really good horror community. And again, coming from me who again, horror is not necessarily something I digest for
Right.
fun. I've always found like at Crypticon and other events, readings, I've always found very supportive people that enjoy the darker themed stuff as a catalyst for whatever emotional issue they might be having at the time or whatever they can relate to. I have noticed that in Minnesota it's very prevalent within audiences, but yeah, I've really enjoyed my time working with the communities and stuff. I actually have at the end of the month here, I'm hosting a Halloween reading at 10K Brewing in Anoka
Oh, fun.
on October 28th at 7 o'clock. I'll be hosting horror writers to read their works and stuff. I'll be reading some of mine as well. Yeah, the community is great. I can't really say enough about them. And I think the community in general of fantasy as well and science fiction. There's so many miniature conventions and so many. Like I've been doing conversions for years. I love the conversions community. I've been doing so many of these smaller events too. I've always had people support me and buy my books or at least look me up and check out my work and stuff. And that's pretty much all I can ask for.
Yeah, and there's definitely a sense of community in Minnesota. I mean, you get
Yes.
some of the not so great stuff, but it's I truly think that, like the Minnesota nice and the Minnesota acceptance is truly a thing. And we've
Yeah.
really enjoyed going to Crypticon. This was our second year, and we'll
Yeah.
definitely continue going every year. And we want to learn about more conventions and stuff. Like we met a couple of people that were telling us like about convergence and
Yeah.
some other ones that we had no idea about. But it's just everybody's so friendly and
Yeah.
it's just a great community.
It is. It's a very nice community. I agree. And it's been cultivated from something that was not necessarily small, but not a lot of people per se were there.
Right.
And now it's gone on for so long. And yeah, no, it's very supportive. And one of my favorite things about going to Crypticon or any other convention is seeing people that maybe they're not even people that I've spoken to, but just people that I recognize. They're back again. It's nice to see the same faces over and over again at these events.
Right.
And sometimes I've seen people from the beginning of Crypticon when I was going there 10 years ago that I just talked to this year. It just kind of goes like that.
Right.
But yeah,
Well, and even
it's,
the celebs,
yeah,
the majority of them are just so personable. And
yes,
I mean, we met Jameson Newlander last year when we were there. He was our
yeah,
elevator buddy. Every time we went into the elevator, he was always
yeah,
in there too. And we've had him on the podcast and, we've kept a friendship open with him. And we've met a few
yeah,
other people through that. And it's been so much fun. We really, really enjoy. And I
yeah,
waver because I would like to have a table there for the podcast, but yet
sure.
I don't wanna be lassoed to a location because it's so
No,
fun to
yeah, it's
roam
tough.
around and yeah, so that
Yeah,
would be a hard thing.
it is difficult. And I try to take some time to go roam around and stuff at Crypticon for sure and talk to some other artists and writers and they're always supportive. But yeah, the celebrities at Crypticon are very personable. I don't think I've had a negative experience with any of them. But I think that horror is such a unique genre that way that like when you get a community of
Mhm.
horror people and they're gonna be very supportive of each other because it's not one of those genres that necessarily you think of as a community per se. But it's very well supported. And I didn't know much about horror until I started going to Crypticon, to be honest. So, but yeah, people love it. It's great.
When we first booked our tickets last year to Crypticon, I was confused on why there was horror celebrities because I thought it was a cryptid festival.
Yeah. Yes.
And I'm like, why are all these horror actors here? Then we got there and I was like, there's nothing about cryptids. It's
Yeah.
like, then somebody explained it to me. It's kind of like it's cryptic, like, Crypticon is
Yeah.
so
Yep.
I was all confused. I'm like, where's all the Bigfoot stuff?
Right, right. Yeah, no, there aren't a lot of cryptids there. There are definitely there's merchandise of cryptids there. There's
Yeah.
stuff like
Yes.
there's people that like cryptids there, but yeah,
Yeah.
it's not necessarily cryptid themed. I remember one year at Crypticon at the old Thunderbird when they had it there, in Bloomington, the old Thunderbird Hotel, which was so much like the Overlook Hotel to me. It just had that vibe, and it was great for the horror convention when we were there because not only was it a creepy hotel, but like their pool was kind of derelict. Like it didn't work. It was like all abandoned. They had like plywood up around the pool and stuff. So it looked even creepier. It was very much like the perfect horror convention hotel. They tore down the
Hmm.
Thunderbird some years ago now, but it was a great time.
Yeah,
Yeah.
I've never been to that hotel.
Yeah. No, it was they had like artifacts all over the walls. It was very, very horror-esque. Yeah.
Very cool. Well, and I have to say, I was very happy that it seemed like the air was working better this year than last year.
Yeah.
Yeah.
It
Yeah.
was so
Definitely.
hot last year.
Yes. Yes, it was.
Like, even in your room, you couldn't get the temperature to go down, so it's like you couldn't escape. It was hot outside, hot inside, and then you got all these
Right, right.
people. It was kind of suffocating.
Yeah, and Crypticon always ends up being hot, like, that weekend for some
It
reason. It's
does.
just, like, 1,000,000 degrees, and you're like, "What's going on?" Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, but it's such a fun atmosphere. I can't We look
Yes.
forward to it. We didn't get the gold package this year, we were too late. And I purchased our tickets in, like, April, I think, and so I'm gonna have to make sure I watch earlier because we like to get the gold package to do the celeb dinner and stuff like that. That was the only
Yeah.
thing that we didn't get this year versus last year, but it's just nice. I mean, having the different options and there's so much to see, so much to do, and it's that hotel that they have it at is the Crown Plaza. There's so many nooks and crannies.
It
Every
is.
year I'm like, I don't think we saw this person, or did we ever encounter
Right.
this?
Yeah.
Or I mean, there's
Yeah.
just so much.
It's kind of like one of those reality expanding, like, stories where the house like, you measure the house and it's bigger on the inside than it looks on the outside kind of thing, or it's
Yes.
just like there's so much space on the inside. Yeah. No, it's very, like, House of Leaves kind of vibe to it. Yeah.
Yes, there was a gentleman that pulled up. We were sitting outside, and it was an older gentleman, and he pulled up, and he was like, "I'm looking for this place." And I'm like, "Well, you're here." And he's like, "Well, no, I'm looking
Yeah.
for the Crown Plaza." I'm like, "You're here." And he's like, "No, but
Yep.
from this picture," because he had a picture from the backside or something. And so I was trying to explain to him that it was the right place, but then I'm like, "Oh,
Right.
I don't think he's here for Crypticon. He's gonna have a rude awakening very soon."
Yeah, yeah, that's funny. Yeah, no, it is confusing, but it suits the feeling for the convention for sure.
It really does. But could you imagine being a person who booked a hotel not knowing that was going on and walking into that?
Oh, I love that. Yes, yes. I love that. That is my favorite thing about it. Just having like the normal family that's there for like a soccer tournament and they're just like
Yeah.
staying there and there's people, cosplayed as Michael Myers walking around. It's great. Yeah.
There's some great cosplay. Last year, they had the Stranger Thing ones that people got engaged.
Oh,
There was 2
yeah.
people that were dressed up in Stranger Things, but elaborate, like the big, huge
Yeah.
headdress, and oh my gosh, it's so fun. Anybody, if you get a chance, go to these cons and check them out
Yeah.
because they are so much fun and people watching galore.
Yeah, it is. It is. It is great. I love the communities. I love the con communities. They've been just great to me, and it is fun. It is fun, and if you go to these conventions and you think that you know something obscure, like a movie that nobody's watched, or a TV show, or an episode, you will find someone at these conventions who knows what you're talking about. You will find someone who's like, "Oh yeah, I remember that X-Files episode. That one character said that." Of course, yeah, you will
Yeah,
find that.
yes. And
Like
everybody,
people
go ahead.
Oh, yeah, people just you think you're alone in your fandoms and your geekdoms and stuff, but you're not. There are people out there who will partake with you.
For sure. And just the sense of community. And
Mhm.
it's, you walk into a Target and you got people that are scowling and
Oh, yeah.
always, on a mission or whatever. But when you're there,
Yeah.
it's just so, there's not a worry in the world.
Right. Right, people are enjoying it and stuff, yeah.
Yeah. And they're
Absolutely.
all, being themselves. And there's so much
Yeah,
to encounter. But
right.
all right, well, enough of Crypticon. I could rant on about that
Sure.
forever. I love that event so much.
I love it too, yeah.
So in my research, I came across something called DOL 39.
Oh, Doll 39, yeah.
Yes.
That yeah. So that was a story, it was a Kindle book that I released, it was gonna be, Amazon had, for their self-publishing platform, they had serialized stories, and people could subscribe to you as an author, and you'd publish serialized stories, and they'd pay money to get the new serialized, story, like, in sequence, and, Doll 39 was my attempt to try to do that, but I never really stuck with it. I wrote a couple segments for it, and then actually it was called Amazon Villa, I believe, was the program they for the serialized stories. They shut it down, I think, 2 years ago now,
Okay.
so it's not even active anymore. But yeah, Doll 39 was a story about uh, it takes place in like a dystopian apocalyptic future, and there's these creatures called dolls which are like these weird life forms that they stimulate a growth in an area, like botanical growth, or like you basically, if you have one in your backyard, you'll have like crops, you'll have like resources happen, but they're also like vampiric. They'll eat people and stuff like that. So society at this point has formed some sort of truce with them, and they keep these creatures nearby so they can have crops and they can have resources, but they also have to feed people to the creatures. So they have like a
Oh,
treaty with them and stuff. And I wrote the first few segments, but then I think my kids were young. They were like, what, 2 or 3 at the time. And that was that. I couldn't keep up with it. So yeah, that's
yeah.
Doll 39. That's a blast from the past. Yeah.
And with Greenland Diaries, are you going to continue the volumes with that, or is that
Yeah.
coming
I
to
mean,
an
I've got
end?
6 books. Yeah, I've got 6 books in the main narrative. I got one left to complete 1 year because the story takes place over a year through 365 days. The last book will end out the year, and I have plans for the next book already. I don't have a release or anything. I haven't written it yet, but I will do it. And I do plan to continue the story a little bit more after that, with with a sequel series of sorts. That'll just be a few books. But right now on my blog that I publish stuff on weekly or daily almost, I am writing stories from the Greenland Diaries on there that you can't get anywhere else but on the blog. And those stories take place after the main mechanism in the Greenland Diaries is the drum, like the sound that brings these creatures to life every night. And it's not a spoiler or anything because it's told in the very first page of the Greenland Diaries, but the drum does get destroyed at some point. But the monsters stick
Oh,
around. So like they lose the mechanism to be violent, basically, this drumming sound. So the monsters are still in our world and human beings have to learn how to coexist with these creatures. And the sequel book series will be more about that, like what happens after the drum is destroyed, where the diaries cover the drum being destroyed itself.
okay.
And it's no secret, it's no spoiler for anyone that this happens. I talk about it often, and like I said in the very first page. But yeah, I do plan to flush out the universe, make sure the audience gets enough exposition, understand what's going on to a point, and yeah, I do plan to finish that up in the next 2 or 3 years here.
Very cool. I'm so excited to read it. I've just got to, this time of year is so hard to take time to sit down and read for us. But,
Sure.
the horrid winter's coming.
Yeah, yeah,
Yeah.
no, like the environment itself will be more conducive to it, where it'll be like you're
Yes.
stuck in place, read a book. Yeah.
Yes. Cozy up, get
Yep.
cup of coffee or hot chocolate and just dive into a different world.
Definitely,
So,
definitely.
have you ever considered adapting your stories for film, TV, or audio drama like you did with the Hidden Oaks podcast?
Yeah, I've considered it. I would love to do it if, someone came along and was like, "Hey, let's make this a movie." I mean, of course, yeah, I do it. It's just I've always been in the process of writing the stories, the poems, the books, and I've never really pivoted to do screenplays and stuff. I have written screenplays and I've written for film, but it's never been something I've ardently pursued. Though, I mean, I've had people tell me, "Oh, make a good film," and I've talked to a few people, from Crypticon who have connections and stuff to the film industry about some of my stories. But yeah, I've considered it. Hidden Oaks was a really good experience for me writing audio drama. That story, just to give a quick summary of it, is about a park in Minnesota called Hidden Oaks, which you can go to. And inside the park, there is a monster sleeping. And one day the monster starts to wriggle free because there's a man who lives in the neighborhood, and it's his job to do a ritual to keep the monster in place. But one day he has a heart attack and he can't do it. And of course, it times up with the ritual and when it needs to happen. So the monster starts to wriggle loose, and it affects the surrounding community and neighborhood. And I had a really great experience writing that. I was the main writer for it. I created the monster for it. It was really fun, and I got to work with people and collaborate with people, which is not something I've done a lot in my career. And that taught me new things about myself, new things about my writing. It was I've thought about it, and I would love to do more of it as time goes on here. It's just I've always been just kind of in the process of always releasing a new book or releasing a new poem or a new short story, kind of like that. So I'll eventually pivot to those mediums, but yeah, it's definitely something I've thought about.
Well, I would definitely watch, and I am going to go back and listen to the Hidden Oaks. I just came across that literally today
Yeah,
when I was writing up the questions and stuff, and I was like, "Wait, what is this?" And then I clicked on it and I started listening to one of the episodes, and I was like,
sure.
"Yeah, definitely going back and checking this out."
Yeah, like there's some horror. It's a great story. There's a lot of comedy in it too. It's very heavy in the first season. The second season has some more funnier parts to it. All the stuff I wrote was very heavy for it. I tend to be the dark writer, writing the dark
Right.
subject matter. But some of my colleagues, they wrote funnier arcs for it and stuff, which was great. And it was a lot of great experience doing that.
That's awesome. So, for our readers, which book or story should they start with to get the best taste of your world?
At the risk of just kind of beating the same drum, it would be the Greenland Diaries. I
Okay.
think that does have the most allure for the majority of people. I think Beware the Eels is also a good selection, but that's much more niche. And like I said, it's an acquired taste to read that. But people that finish it are always like, "Oh my god, that book!" It's an experience for them, and it is an experience to read it. But the Greenland Diaries, if you like a good monster, like and a really good monster, and like if you watch something, you're like, what's the deal with this monster? Like if you want to see what the monster looks like, if you have any curiosity about that, the Greenland Diaries fulfills that feeling for you. It is so drawn out, and the monster is very much the main character of the story. Like there's human characters, but the monsters just they develop, they change, they're unique, they're individualistic, they're characters. And I think the audience can't find that really in much media where like the monster is the main character for multiple books.
Right. Definitely check it out. We've got the first two, and we're going to have to get the other ones because I know I'm going to love them. So, where can fans follow your work, buy your books, or catch you at events? Or do you have any
So
events coming up other than the
yeah,
one you
so
mentioned?
yeah, like the 10K Brewing, October 28th at 7, but I'll be at Twin Cities Con. I'm selling my books there. I'm planning a brewery event in December as well. I don't all, but you can go on my website. I update my website, www.patrickwmarsh.com, or just Google Patrick W. Marsh and you'll find me, or Google the Greenland Diaries. Like it's all connected, of course. That's the easiest place to find me is my website, but I'm on all sorts of social media at Patrick W. Marsh or Patrick W. Marsh Writer. You'll be able to find me pretty easily. And I do post stuff on my blog 4 to 5 times a week, including new content. I post the Greenland Diaries and snippets, and Beware the Eels and snippets. I share a lot of my work. Yeah, that's like Twin Cities Con is my next convention, though, and that's in November.
So, are you going to be approaching Brendan Fraser to star in one of your movies?
That'd be great. That'd be great. The celebrities are they're a little bit harder to come up to walk up to at Twin Cities Con because there's so many people at those ones. But I would love to have a conversation with them. I'm a big fan of his, and many of the celebrities there, I've enjoyed their work. So, but
Yeah, the
I
majority
am
of
doing
them.
what's that?
Oh, go ahead.
Play for it. I'm gonna do some Demon Slayer cosplay because I'm a big anime fan.
Very
So yeah,
fun.
I'll be dressing as a Nosuke from Demon Slayer, so I'll have a boar's head on my head. and stuff like that. So that'll be kind of different. Yeah. And I am hosting a panel at Twin Cities Con on Friday night at 9:40. Is it 9:45 or 8:45? It's late, but that's called Monsters Everywhere, and I'll be talking about monsters and stuff too. So
Very
I'm all over
fun.
the place. Yeah.
Yeah, I was just gonna say, I think the celebs, the majority of the bigger celebs are from, what is it? The Mummy.
Yeah, the
What
Mummy.
is the
Yeah.
name of that? Is it just the Mummy? Is that the name of the
Just the
movie?
Mummy, the first one. Yeah.
Yeah. Yeah. So we talked about going to that one. That anime is not something that I have ever really gotten into yet, but I know a lot of people really,
Oh
really
yeah.
love it. And there's
I
a lot
love
of
anime.
comic
Yes.
book stuff, and so,
Yeah.
yeah, we haven't been to that one yet, but I would love to check it out. I was looking at who
Yeah.
was all gonna be there.
Yeah, it's big. It's a big event, and I've tabled there for 3 or 4 years now, and it's been a great experience. It's a lot of people, and yeah, I've never. There's really good cosplay at it. My God, the cosplay is incredible at it. So I'm looking forward to that. So it's a great time.
Yeah, we might have to just get a day pass just to kinda check it out.
Yeah,
We're always
yeah.
missing
No,
out
it's
on
fun.
all these big events.
Yeah, well, and there's more of them now than there used to be.
Yeah.
You know, some conventions don't make it very long, and some stick around. And Twin Cities Con's been around for a little while now.
Yeah, I definitely wanna check it out, and we'll probably end up wanting to do a whole weekend there next time too. So one day just
Yeah,
never seems to be enough.
right, right. I agree.
So, yes, everyone definitely go check out his website, follow him on Instagram, come to Twin Cities Con to see his
Yeah.
panels, see his cosplay.
Yep.
But, well, Patrick, thank you for so much for joining us. And it was great to meet you at CryptoCon. It's been great to
Yeah.
get to know you, to hear more about your books and everything.
Thank you.
It's right up the alley of our listeners, so you guys definitely check them out. Show your support, like, follow, subscribe, all the things, and
Yeah.
grab the Greenland Diaries and dive into a world where fear has a heartbeat.
Yeah, definitely. Thank you so much for having me. I really appreciate it. Yeah.
Yes. Well, we'll definitely, once you get some new work going and stuff, we'll definitely have to have you
Yeah.
back because
I'd
we
love
want to
that. That'd be great.
keep hearing about your journey. And you're a fellow
Thank you.
Minnesotan too. So
Yeah. Yep. And the Greenland Diaries takes place all in Minnesota, so it's a local story.
love that.
Very cool.
Well, thank you so much. And
Yeah, thank you.
Conundrum Crew, thank you for listening. And like I said, check out his work and keep on creeping on. We love you.
Keep it on. Thanks for hanging out with us here at Total Conundrum. Please make sure to check out our website and blog at totalconundrum.com for news, upcoming events, merch, bloopers, and additional hysteria. You never know what will pop up, so be sure to follow along. If you want to show your support for Total Conundrum and gain access to all of our bonus content, please visit our Patreon page. You can also follow us on Facebook, Instagram, and Twitter. The links are available in our show notes. If you have any questions, comments, recommendations, or stories to share, please email us at contact@totalconundrum.com. Episodes are available on Apple Podcast, Spotify, or wherever you listen to your favorite podcasts. If you like the show, please rate, review, and subscribe on Apple Podcasts. We appreciate the love. Keep on creeping on, mother cluckers.